they were very, very small, very nice uniforms, very small names on the back of the jersey. You have to have a microscope to read them.
The progress Amari made from the tough times in California to today. Obviously, the opponents vary, but his game.
No, he was awesome. I think the big thing with Amari is always when he's dialed in, he's a load to handle. And I thought he really competed and played the right way, which is what I talk about with Amari all the time. He's so talented. If he just competes his brains out and tries to play the right way, he's going to do great things for St. Louis basketball every time he touches the floor. And he's grown so much in doing that. Last year it was very hit or miss. This year it's much more hit than miss. And I thought he was he downhill, touching paint, driving the ball. But again, similar to what we're seeing other guys, playing off 2 feet and then trying to make the right rim decision. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's your teammate. Like on a night where we score 107 and 69 possessions. We didn't shoot it that great from 3. It wasn't like we had one of those nights where we hit 18 threes, 20 threes. We'll have a night coming up where we'll probably break whatever the record is for scoring in school history when we have those nights. But to score 107, not shoot it great, we generate a lot of quality looks. And so Maury was a huge part of that. But I was really proud of how he competed. And then that's it with him. Compete, play the right way. You do that, and do that every possession. You're so talented. You're gonna make a massive impact in the game.
Was that missing in California?
Was it missing? No, it wasn't missing. I think he was trying in California. I think he wasn't always making the right play. I think Amari, his biggest challenge in terms of as a player is always being dialed in every possession. He's been so talented. A lot of guys. I mean, it's very rare for a guy to, Deion Brown stands out because he plays so hard every possession. That does stand out the other way, right? Like it's very rare for somebody to play as hard as they can and be dialed in mentally every possession. I thought Amari made the right plays today. I thought in California there were some rim decisions and playing off 1 foot. And that's part of being a player, though. As you grow and you learn, you get corrected, and then you take the feedback. And that's a program pillar, right? Grow and learn from every experience, and fly those lessons forward so you're better for your next opportunity. And whether that's painful lessons or where today you have some really positives. Now we got to take the lesson from today, fly those forward, and get ready for the next competition.
In regard to Quentin, you've talked about guys, how they tend to grow into this offense. Is that what you're seeing with him now as we progress?
Yeah, he's a guy that has made great strides. He's talking about a guy who's just understanding. Like he saw some cuts today that he hasn't seen. We were talking about a little bit. I told them Ryan Conwell didn't see a cut till February. When we played and then by February on he was awesome cutter. And it takes guys a while. That's why I know you guys laugh, but I say when the offense is scalable. That's what I mean. It's because of the way we play, the offense will get better as the year goes on because they'll recognize opportunities to cut. They recognize how to play with each other. They recognize not just what they do, what their teammates do. They understand how to be more efficient inside of their own games. Even last year, we weren't a particularly good offensive team, but we still, I think, down the end of the year at 98 against Loyola, 90 against Duquesne, right? Our best games came at the end of the year offensively in terms of scoring the basketball. And that's why. But Q's starting to figure out how to be aggressive inside the system. He turned the ball over way less than he was. I saw that going back to, I actually thought he played well. He didn't shoot well, but he played really well in California. He was awesome against Loyola Marymount. I thought he was, the play he made late was growth, like the play against Santa Clara to win the game. Maybe a week before, he drives that ball, rejects it, goes in and shoots an off balance, one-legged shot, and instead he drives it, gets cut off, flips it to Kellen to let him get downhill and screens Kellen's guy and gets him down.
When you guys were making that run in the first half, obviously it starts with the defense, and were you concerned about the degree of difficulty on that? It looks like they were getting confident. I thought we threw some lobs and stuff, but I thought they were more in the flow of what we're doing. I think they fed off the energy of the crowd, and
I didn't think it got loose. Like, I didn't think our shot selection or our turnovers got loose. I mean, we turned it over twice in the first half, and they were both, honestly, one was my fault with Dion up top, and one Dion got stuck on the baseline and made a bad pass. I think, today was in terms of like hitting singles and trying to play the right way and play for each other and play, efficiently inside of what we're doing, inside of their own game. I thought that was we've talked about that before, like the best way for this group to function when you have this many good players is for each player to be as efficient as possible inside of their own game. And if they can be efficient inside of their own game, then that's going to allow the group collectively to play their best. And to do that, it's easy to say, hard to do, because you got to give up stuff that you like to do in your game. Whether that's taking some tough mid-range shots or throwing some bad passes, or you got to give up some of yourself, and that's not natural in today's climate. And guys are doing that.
You talk about, for coaches do it before, but talk about playing off 2 feet. It seems like such a simple thing that you can tell them, I know you've worked on it, in practice,
Yeah.
the basic. But just talk about how important that is.
It's so important because, so playing off 2 feet, like, I'm not as dogmatic as some coaches were. Like, I do think there's times you beat your guy, and if you have space, you can go up and dunk it or lay it in off 1 foot. I mean, it's not like but if you don't have space, which in college basketball is most of the time, because there's usually somebody at the rim waiting for you, playing off 2 feet makes you so much more of an efficient finisher, because now you also draw way more fouls, because you may come to a jump stop, now you can shot fake somebody, they jump, now you can step in and get fouled or step through. It allows you to see out and make late passes, maybe hit a late cutter, maybe play off 2 and spray it out. It gives you clear vision of the floor. There's nothing more important than being an efficient, when you get the ball in those high leverage areas, like by the rim, there's nothing more important than being an efficient player than recognizing that you don't have the space, playing off 2 feet. Because what happens a lot of times with guys off 1, and Q and Amari, tend to play off 1, Dion as well, where they come in and they jump off 1 foot. Now, if they don't have the space, the big's there, now they're taking a tough shot. Or if they recognize that, now they're trying to find a pass and they're in the air, versus playing off 2, you can shot fake pivot. You're going to finish better. You're going to get way more assists. You're going to reduce your turnover rate. You're going to get fouled. Your free throw rate's going to be higher. There's so much benefit to it. And you said you're a practice a lot. Like the finishing school we work on constantly playing. It's a fundamental, but it's a huge fundamental to play off 2 feet, recognize the spacing situation. I think we're getting better at it. We're adapting it better. And that's why I think you're seeing LMU, our turnovers weren't as much. We didn't turn the ball over as much against Santa Clara and Stanford, 11 times each. It was 15%, I think, in those games, which is below our mark. The Loyola game was just a lot of like goofy stuff. It wasn't as much like the rim decisions. It was more just like dumb turnovers. Today was very solid in terms of like the decision making at the rim for ourselves, for our team. Like I said, and we generated. I mean, Brady and Ish go 3 for 13, and they were playing a horse out there. They're great shooters. We could have had 30 some assists had we completed some of those